Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today's video is a little bit different. These are the top 10 cards that I'm chasing at the first Shattering. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the first Shattering is an event that's celebrating the launch of a brand new card game called Wonders of the First, a game that I'm super interested in and that I've made a bunch of deck techs for already. And if you're a Kickstarter backer, this is the first time you can get your hands on any of these cards potentially, and even if you didn't back the Kickstarter, this might be your last chance to get your hands on the very first print run, the same print run that the Kickstarter backers are getting, by showing up to the event and getting your hands on what's called a Stoneseeker on Arrival package, which is a bundle of collector boosters and a 2-player starter kit. You can get them only at the event, and this game's pretty wild, so I can't wait to see what I can pull out of my own packs. But these are the top 10 cards that I'm trying to chase at the event, and I'm going to try desperately, whether it's through opening or trades or whatever the case may be, to come home with these cards as part of my collection. We'll see if we can get it done, so let's dive in. First of all, I'm going to start with 3 honorable mentions, and the first card I want to talk about is Starhorn Capra. This is a 1-cost secondary wonder with 2 power, and it has a tap-free ability to remove all counters from target player's cards in target realm. The ability's kind of cool. The card isn't all that powerful, it's only an uncommon, but for nostalgia reasons, for personal reasons, I really just want this just because it's called Capra. And I'm Capricorn, my channel's Capricorn, so I have to have a copy of this. I have to have as many copies of this as possible, whether they're foil or whatever the case may be. I need to get my hands on the Starhorn Capra. It just needs to happen. But it's not something that I desperately need, right? So it is just an honorable mention. The next one I want to talk about is Patch Squibbler. This is a 1-cost secondary wonder with 3 power, and that's it. And no, I don't want this because it's great, although there are much worse things than just having a 1-cost wonder that can potentially come out for free if you have the correct link from a land in play. But really the only reason I want this is because the very first game I played of Wonders of the First, with no refills, my opponent, she fell in love with Patch Squibbler, just what he is, what he represents. Just he's kind of like a rocket raccoon except a lizard, and so for sentimental reasons I have to bring this home so that she can have it. And again, if I can find foils or whatever the case may be, I gotta make it happen because she will not let me live it down if I come home without Patch Squibblers. The last honorable mention is a pretty insane card, and that's this alternate art version of the first that is only available at this event. Everybody that comes to this event gets this card, and that's the only way you can get this card. And even though everybody gets one, it's still going to be a pretty crazy card, and I think in the long run, down the line, this is going to be worth a lot of money once this game takes off, and I think it could be a serious collector's item. That being said, it is still just an honorable mention because all you need to do is show up and you automatically get one. So it's not really like I have to try too hard to track this down, but it's going to be pretty nuts, and I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to play it in all of my decks. A year from now, when I bring it to my LGS to play this game with people and they see it and they don't know where I got it because of the alternate art, it's going to feel really good. So I can't wait to get my hands on this. But let's start here by going into the top 10 proper. And at number 10, we have to go with Emma Fixum Shockbite. This is a 5-cost legendary wonder with 6 power. She's a core, so you need the right land in play in order to play her. All your items get attuned Heliosynth, and whenever an equipped wonder you control attacks, it gets +2 this round. That ability is nuts because if you attack multiple times in the same round, that wonder gets an additional +2 every single time, and it sticks for the entire round. So it just gets more powerful and more powerful and more powerful, and eventually maybe it's powerful enough to actually take the stone there. But just giving all of your items attuned is insane. If you're in a deck with a ton of items, just getting to play them all without using up actions are king in this game. They are the most important resources, and getting to just play all of your items without using any actions at all can be absolutely insane. And all of that would be good enough reason to want to chase her on its own, but the reason I'm chasing her really is another sentimental reason, because the very first game of Wonders of the First I ever played was using Emma Fixum Shockbite, and I got to see her in action and see what she could do, and just kind of fell in love with her on a sentimental level. So I have to get my hands on a copy. I have to have her as part of my collection, so she's at number 10. But moving on to number 9, the Wind Reaver. This is one of the most powerful cards in the game, and I have to have it. It is a 5-cost primary wonder with 3 power. It has flying, which means after it attacks, you can move it to an adjacent realm, which means over the course of the game, it can attack in multiple realms and take multiple stones, potentially, without having to commit new wonders to play and just kind of lean on the Wind Reaver itself. But that's not what makes it so crazy. What makes it so crazy is that on play, you get to gain control of target enemy wonder this round. Untap it. And because every round consists of multiple actions, that is way more powerful than it seems like it is at first glance, especially if you wait until round 7, the final round of the game, because a lot of times you have a bunch of land saved up that you can harvest for actions, and round 7 can be 2 or 3 times as long as any other round, as you just have like 9, 10 crazy amounts of actions that you can take advantage of. So if you wait and play this on round 7, steal your opponent's best wonder after they've already played everything out to the board pretty much, because it's the final round of the game, and then you get to just use that wonder for the entire rest of the game because there's only that 7th round left and then the game ends. It can be absolutely insane. Not only do you get to use their best wonder, but they lose it. So whatever it was holding down, if it was holding down a stone, if it was protecting a specific realm, they no longer have access to their best wonder, and you just get to steamroll over your opponents. So the Wind Reaver is just super powerful. It doesn't require a ton of nuance. It's going to be super powerful no matter what deck you put it in, and I absolutely have to have one, so I will be hunting them down for sure. But next up, we're going to move on to number 8, and that's Dimensional Piercer. Absolutely my favorite equipment in the game by far. This is a legendary item that costs a whopping 6 energy, and it's a core, so you need that Boundless land in play with a Boundless Link in order to play it. But when equipped wonder attacks, you shuffle target enemy wonder in this realm into its owner's deck, and shuffling it into their deck most of the time is a lot better than even killing it. You don't have to worry about sending it to their discard pile, to their abyss, and then having some kind of way to interact with their abyss and get it back later, or anything like that. It's just gone. It's just in their deck, and they have no way to access it, and that's nuts. Being able to use this multiple times by equipping it to a creature and attacking in multiple times over the course of the game and getting rid of multiple threats can just be bananas. If you could only use this once, it would still be kind of good, but the fact that you get to use it on every single attack is just crazy. Not only that, but you can equip it to a flyer, and then you can start moving around the board to different realms and using it in different realms on the same flyer, since flyers can move to an adjacent realm after combat. So I think this card is just absolutely bananas, and absolutely have to have it for my collection. But next up, we're moving on to number 7, and that's Moonfire Crystal Mouse. This is just a common, but this is probably the best common in the entire game. It's absolutely nuts. It is a 2-cost secondary wonder with only 1 power, which is super bad, right? But it has a sacrifice-free ability to draw 2 cards and gain 2 energy. For reference, normally you have to spend 1 action to draw a card. So if you can spend 1 action to play a Moonfire Crystal Mouse, and then later on get to sack it to draw 2 cards, at the very least, you got a free card there that you didn't have to spend an action for. But you also get 2 free energy, and you also get to stall your opponent and make them run out of actions by using a sacrifice-free ability. So it just gets better and better and better, and before you use the sacrifice-free ability, you also have the ability to just maybe play this in a realm that doesn't have any wonders at all, and maybe be able to steal a stone if they aren't able to play a defender to that realm before you're able to attack with this. So even though it's only 1 power, it can still take a stone in a realm that's not defended. So this thing can just do so much, just so much value packed into 1 card, and I honestly feel like it's going to become a staple in pretty much any deck that can run it. I think this card is that good. It almost reminds me, almost like the equivalent of a Soul Ring in Magic the Gathering. If any of you guys have played Magic the Gathering, it reminds me a lot of Soul Ring, because you do have to invest 1 mana into Soul Ring, but you get twice as much back as what you invested in this. And in the same way, investing an action into the Moonfire Crystal Mouse gets you back twice as much through drawing cards and then extra energy and stuff on top of it. So I just really think this card is super good. I'm going to hunt down as many of them as I can, since it is a common and it should be easy to find. I'm just going to hoard all of the Moonfire Crystal Mouse. So if you're going to the event and you get some Moonfire Crystal Mouse, come find me, because I want them. They're going to be mine. But we're going to move on to number 6, and that's 𝐭𝐝 Wayfarer. This is my favorite card in the game. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best card in the game. It also doesn't necessarily mean it's the card I like the flavor of the most, but I just love what it does mechanically so much that I constantly want to try to find ways to brew around this card to get the most out of it. It is a 2-cost primary wonder with 2 power. It is a core, so you're going to need that link. It has flying, so it's a very cheap flyer. There aren't a ton of cheap flyers in this game. There are a handful. This is probably the best one. And if this is equipped, if it would attack, you may instead move it to an adjacent realm, and then the attack happens in the new realm. So basically, this thing can get super flying, and flying is so overpowered as it is if you use it correctly. That's something having super flying just seems nuts. Not only do you get to move to an adjacent realm after combat, but you can move to an adjacent realm before combat to participate in combat in that new realm. So you could be in Realm 1 with 𝐭𝐝 Wayfarer and declare attack in Realm 2, move your 𝐭𝐝 Wayfarer to Realm 2 to participate in that attack, and then after the attack finishes, move it to Realm 3. Absolutely bananas. You can set up so many situations where you get to capitalize on this in so many crazy ways, and I truly think that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg in ways that we can abuse this guy, and I can't wait to see just how many different ways we can take advantage of his super flying abilities and put them to great use, just on top of it being a really cheap flyer that you can get out early and just start flying around to all of the different realms and dominating the board pretty much by himself. It's also a really good target for that dimensional piercer we already talked about. Just fly around and take out whatever you want, and now you have way more versatility in doing that because you get to move twice as many realms, twice as many spaces over, and you can even move before initiating the attack. So this card's just nuts. I absolutely love everything about it. The flavor, the mechanics, but mostly the mechanics, and I need to have it. I need to have every version of it. I'm not sure if there's an alternate art for this, but if there is, I need to have that, and I need to have the foils. Bring me the 𝐭𝐝 Wayfarer foils. I must have them. Bring them to me. I will see you soon. Make sure you save them for me. Do the thing. But we're going to move on to our top 5. In the 5th slot is one of the most powerful cards in the entire game, and arguably the most powerful land. This is Indra's Citadel. It is a 0-cost primary land that gives you a boundless link, can be harvested to gain an action just like any land, but on harvest, if you have Kingdom 3, which means if you already control 3 lands or more, if this is in an even-numbered realm, you gain an additional action. What's crazy about this is it is a way to get an extra action out of a land with the least amount of hoops to jump through. There are some lands in this game that have ways to either reset themselves so that you can harvest them to gain an action again, or get an extra action out of them to begin with, but all of them require jumping through very specific hoops and having to play in a very specific way in order to get the additional action, whereas Indra's Citadel doesn't. All you have to do is not play it on round 1 pretty much. It just has to be in an even numbered realm. As soon as realm 2 unlocks, you can play the Indra's Citadel to realm 2 or any realm you want, as long as it's an even numbered realm. And then once you get to 3 lands, whenever you harvest it, you get 2 actions. Actions are king in this game. I cannot say it enough. I cannot slam that concept home enough. Actions are king. They are the key to victory, and any ways that you can find to get additional actions for free or additional value that would normally take an action and don't cost an action, that's going to be your route to victory. So being able to get that out of Indra's Citadel for pretty much no opportunity cost whatsoever just makes this card absolutely insane. And I sort of liken it to a Mox in Magic the Gathering. For those of you that know Magic the Gathering, this feels like a Mox to me, because you just get a free action with pretty much no downside, and it's absolutely bananas. And that leads us to our number 4 cards that I'm looking to chase at the event, which is Ethereal Grove. This is a primary land that gives you a Patria link, can harvest to gain an action just like any land, but on arrival it has symbiosis with a land. The way symbiosis works is you get to copy the entire text box of whatever you target with symbiosis. If it's a wonder that has symbiosis, normally you can only target another wonder that has the same power as the wonder with symbiosis. But in the case of Ethereal Grove here, it can just target any land, which means if you already have one of those Indra's Citadels out, Ethereal Grove can basically become another Indra's Citadel and just start to snowball the amount of advantage you get, the amount of extra actions you can get off your lands to an insane degree. Ethereal Grove is absolutely nuts, and this is one of those cards that's not only really good now, but it's only going to get better and better and better with every single set that gets released, because you're going to have more and more options, more and more new lands to open up the versatility of this card, to give you that many more potential targets, to make this card that much better, potentially, depending on what those lands do. So I think this card is just going to skyrocket in price over time and go up, 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 and just get better and better and be crazier and crazier. And I have to get my hands on as many as I can now before I can't afford to buy them because they're way too expensive. So give me all your Ethereal Groves. This card is bonkers. And one of the reasons that it's bonkers is because of the number 3, my number 3 card that I'm chasing, and that's Market of Lost Wonders. This is actually the best land in the game, and you'll see, once you play against it, or maybe get a chance to use it, you'll see why it's so good. This is a 0-cost legendary land, gives you a boundless link, it can be harvested to gain an action, and then on harvest, if you have Kingdom 3, just like Indra's Citadel, if this is in an odd round, you gain an extra action. If it's in an even round, you gain 2 energy. Now, unlike Indra's Citadel, this doesn't care about what realm it's in. It cares about what round it is. And the important thing to take note of is most of the time when you want an extra action, it's in the final round of the game. It's in round 7. And you get an extra action out of this in an odd numbered round, which round 7 is an odd numbered round. So if you save this for the final round, you will get that extra action, except on top of that, you get the added versatility of being able to use it a little earlier, using it in an even numbered round if it's only round 6 or 4 or 2 to get extra energy and potentially play out something that's way more expensive than you should be able to play out way earlier in the game than you should be able to. And it's that versatility that makes this so good, because even if you have one mode or the other in mind and you have your deck built around being able to utilize one of those modes to the fullest extent possible and not necessarily taking the other mode into account, you still have the versatility that if the situation arises where it just so happens that because of how the game went, the other mode's just gonna work better for you that game, you still have the chance to use it for that other mode, even if it's not your plan A. That extra amount of versatility just makes this that much better than Indra's Citadel, and an even better target to copy with Ethereal Grove This land is absolutely bananas, and I have to have it. And it's so crazy, and I love it so much that brings me to our number 2 card to chase, which is the 1-of-1 stone foil version of Market of Lost Wonders. This is a bit of a pipe dream here. There's only one of these in existence. You can only get them in the first printing that's going to be available to Kickstarter backers and in these Stoneseeker on Arrival packages that you can pick up at the event. And I am crossing my fingers, hoping I can get my hands on this. I know the chances are so slim, but could you imagine if you're the one guy that can actually pull the 1-of-1 Market of Lost Wonders? Years from now, this card is going to be legendary, specifically because the land is going to go down in history as being the best land in this game, I guarantee it. There's no way they will make the mistake of making another land this powerful again. At least I don't think they will. Maybe I'm wrong, but this card is bananas, and having the 1-of-1 stone foil variant of this would be absolutely crazy. I'm gonna try. I mean, it's really all down to luck with this one, right? If someone else pulls it, there's no way they're gonna trade it. It's just not gonna happen. But I can dream. And dreaming brings us to our first slot. Our number 1 card that I want to chase at this event, which I'm never going to get. But again, a guy can dream, and that's the 1-of-1 Phoenix Quill. This is a 0-cost legendary item, and it has a sacrifice-free ability where you may play core cards from any orbital this round, so you get around those stipulations. You also gain 3 energy, so you can play something stupid expensive super early in the game, and as if that wasn't enough, you also can bury all the cards in your hand and draw that many cards. And burying them means putting them on the bottom of your deck. It doesn't mean putting them in the discard pile, into the abyss. So in some ways, that can be way better than having to discard all the cards, because you know they're still in your deck, and you could potentially still draw into them later on in the game. But getting to wheel your whole hand out, similar to like a Time Twister in Magic the Gathering, while also getting 3 free energy, similar to a Black Lotus in Magic the Gathering, while also getting to play core cards from any orbital this round, similar to all of your mana counts as mana of any color for the entire turn in Magic the Gathering. That's bananas. It's like a super Black Lotus meets Time Twister turned up to 11, and because this game is bottlenecked by also having an action economy and having actions as a resource, the extra energy is not as busted as you might think, because you're still limited by the actions you can take. But don't get me wrong, this card is still absolutely insane. It is possibly, I don't think it's the most powerful card in the game, but it's definitely in contention. It's in the top 10. And depending on the deck that you play it in, it can absolutely just swing an entire game in your favor, dig for combo pieces that you might need by discarding your whole hand and redrawing that many cards, give you crazy energy so you can just play insane bomb plays when you shouldn't be able to and just take over the game to the point where your opponent can't catch up. Like, there's so much craziness you could do with this card. Just getting a Phoenix Quill in general would be nuts, but being able to get the 1-of-1 Phoenix Quill, the only one in existence, would be an absolute dream come true. Again, there's no way we're going to have a chance of getting this by trading it off someone, but if we could be lucky enough to pull it out of a pack, maybe, possibly, it could happen, and that would be gnarly. And that's going to do it for this video. I hope to see you guys at the event. It's going to be wild. Friday, March 21st, it starts. There's going to be a free dinner, meet and greet, and discussion with the developers. Saturday, we get all of our product. We get to rip it all open, play casual games, assemble our first decks, all that good stuff. And then Sunday is a free tournament for all attendees, and we finally get to see everybody put their money where their mouth is, see me go up against some of the best players at this game in the world right now, and we'll see if we can pull out a win. I don't know if I'm going to have enough of the cards to put together a good enough deck to actually compete with all of these guys, but I'm going to try my hardest, and I'll let you know how it goes, because I will be live streaming from the event. It's going to be a wild time. Hopefully you consider joining me. and I'll see you there. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there, and if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.